Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for coming this evening to have the wonderful darshan of Lord Krishna and to participate in the chanting of the holy names of Lord Krishna, as well as to hear some wonderful messages about him. This is actually the success of life. If we can simply pass our days and years serving Lord Krishna, chanting his names and becoming his pure devotees, then our life will be successful. The topic for today's lecture is going to be how to become wealthy. And you may think, well, that seems rather odd. We have come to a temple and here they're talking about how to become wealthy. Well, it's not really strange if we consider what real wealth really means. The pounds, shillings, pence of this world, how far will it get us? How far can it protect us? Real wealth is that which has lasting value. Let's say someone gave you a huge suitcase of currency notes which were very big in denomination, and you were told that actually by tomorrow it's going to lose its value and become nothing. Confirmed. So, what would you do? And these things have happened in history. During the Second World War, there were occasions in different countries when people would go out to buy a loaf of bread with a whole suitcase of notes, because that's what it would cost to just buy a loaf of bread. The value of paper currency or any form of currency had diminished so much, it practically had no value. And if you kept the suitcase of notes down, it was likely the suitcase would be stolen, not because of the contents of the notes, but because the suitcase was valuable, not the notes in the suitcase. So people would have their eye on the suitcase rather than the notes. In any case, the wealth of this world will perish. Today it appears valuable, but tomorrow it's gone. So therefore the intelligent person asks the question, what is real wealth in this world? One time, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling in the holy place of Navadvip, he came across a very great devotee of Lord Krishna. His name was Sridhar. This Sridhar was very, very poor. He made his livelihood by selling banana flowers, fruits, as well as the trunks and leaves and so on. He earned a very, very meager income. And with whatever little money he had, he would spend 50% of it for the worship of Mother Ganga. And then the remaining amount he would spend for his own maintenance. His house was not really a house at all. It was a small little cottage. And there were holes in the roof. He practically hardly had any vessels. He didn't have anything to cook with. So his clothes were torn, but still he was completely satisfied. He would chant the holy names of Lord Krishna day in and day out with a lot of gusto and enthusiasm. So much so that his neighbors would start thinking that this man Sridhar is creating such a nuisance for us. He chants the names of Krishna all day and night. Perhaps it's the pangs of hunger that's making him shout out the name of Krishna so much. So they would criticize poor Sridhar. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there, he started joking with Sridhar. He said, Sridhar, why are you worshipping this Lord Krishna? What has he given you? Just see. You have practically no house to live in. Look at the holes in your thatched roof. Look at your clothes. Your clothes are in tatters. You hardly have anything in your house. It's not even a house. And just see your neighbors. They are worshipping Chandi, Durga, Kali. And just see how Durga is blessing them with so much money. They have become so wealthy. And what's happened to you? So Sridhar replied that, my dear Brahmin, please remember that whatever wealth or poverty we experience in this life, whatever happiness and distress we experience in this life, is all a result of activities we have performed in the previous lives. This is our karma. So the intelligent person learns to be satisfied with what Providence has in store for him. One should not become dissatisfied, because this leads to disturbance in the mind. One can never be happy. Even if one has the entire universe at one's disposal, if one is not satisfied with what one has right now. So therefore, even the king who has a big palace and much wealth and a big kingdom has his wealth and happiness destined for him, and so does a little bird sitting up here on a tree, and so does a poor person like me. So even though my house may not be very big, but at least it's a house. Even though my thatched roof may have some holes, but at least it's a roof. My clothes may be in tatters, but at least they are clothes. My vessels may be in poor shape, but at least I have something to cook in. And I manage to eat. I manage to survive. So I'm not in any anxiety, even though I'm very poor. In this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sridhar had a nice discussion. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Sridhar, actually you are a very wealthy person. You have a lot of wealth that is stored away somewhere, stashed away, and you are hiding it from the world. Poor Sridhar was a very simple person. So he didn't understand what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu really meant. He thought that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu referred to the wealth of this world, gold and silver and money and so on. So he protested. He said, my dear Brahman, I don't have any money with me. Come and check my house, you see. So Mahaprabhu said, no, one day I shall expose you. I shall reveal your wealth to the world. And Sridhar was confused. He didn't know what this Brahman, Nimai Pandit or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was referring to. But of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being none other than Lord Krishna, knew everything. He knows past, present and future. And therefore, he was very, very clear about the great wealth that Sridhar possessed. That wealth was the wealth of Krishna consciousness. It was the wealth of great devotion to Krishna, which can never be taken away at any point in time. If we leave our bodies, if we die today with £1 million, there is no guarantee that we will be born again in a family that has £1 million. There is no guarantee even that we will be born in a human species. We may get a lower birth. So therefore the wealth of this world is there today and it is gone tomorrow. Whereas spiritual wealth that we acquire by becoming pure devotees of Lord Krishna remains with us forever. Even death cannot take this wealth away from us. Now we may ask, why is devotion to Lord Krishna real wealth? How is it like gold and silver and money and houses and property and so on? Well, let's look at it like this. What do we want money and gold and silver and so on for? Because we think is going to bring us a lot of happiness, isn't it? We want to purchase all the good things that money can purchase. We want a nice house, we want a nice car, we want nice clothes, we want nice food to eat. We want so many luxuries that money can bring us, with the hope that these things will actually make us happy. But then the experience is that these things don't make us happy. Rather, they do not extinguish the blazing fire of desire in our heart. And we keep wanting more and more and more. No matter how much we have, we still want more and more. This is the problem today, that people are not satisfied with what they want, with what they have, and therefore, despite having so much money, they are dissatisfied. And a person who doesn't have money is always hankering for more money as well. So whether we have more money or less, everyone is unhappy. Because money is not able to purchase real happiness. On the other hand, when we worship Lord Krishna and become His pure devotees, that devotion, which is called bhakti, brings real happiness. It brings so much happiness to the devotee that the devotee considers all the pleasures of this world as being completely insignificant, like straw on the street. When we walk by on a road and we see some blades of grass, we don't consider them very significant. So also a devotee of the Lord experiences so much bliss in serving Lord Krishna that he or she is not at all attracted by the glitter and glamour, by the razzle-dazzle of this world. This razzle-dazzle bewilders everyone who is not a devotee of the Lord. But a devotee understands that this razzle-dazzle is simply an illusory show. It can never bring us real happiness. I'll tell you the story of a little prince. The name of this prince was Dhruva. His father's name was Uttanapad. This story appears in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, as kings did in those days, King Uttanapad also had several queens. Dhruva Maharaj was a son of one queen called Suniti. However, the king did not love this particular queen so much. He had another favorite, and that queen's name was Suruchi. And she also had a son, whose age was as much as Dhruva. They were both two sons of the king. One time, when the son of Suruchi was sitting on the lap of the king, young Dhruva, who was only 5 years old at that time, also wanted to sit on the lap of his father, just like any child would. And when he wanted to climb up on the father's lap, so Suruchi, his stepmother, sharply reprimanded him and said, "You have no right to sit on the lap of the king. If you want to do that, you will have to take birth from my womb." So young Dhruva was very hurt by these statements, and he took it very seriously. His eyes were stinging with tears, and he walked away feeling completely humiliated. Now you have experienced that when there are small children, they don't take any reprimand very seriously. Even if you call them ill names, you spank them, you punish them, then they are back to normal in a few minutes. You may have seen two children fighting bitterly with each other, only to make up the next moment and act with each other as if nothing had happened. This is the way that children are. They don't take such things seriously. But Dhruva Maharaj took the matter very seriously. Because he was a Kshatriya. It is said that for a Kshatriya, dishonor is worse than death. So he was so hurt, he came back home to his mother, Suniti. Suniti asked him, "My dear son, Dhruva, what has happened to you?" And Dhruva replied, actually by this time the queen had already heard from the servants in the palace that this is what had happened. So she said, "My dear son, I am helpless. I can't help you because your father does not love me. Your father loves my co-wives more than me. So I am not in a position to help you." So then Dhruva Maharaj asked his mother, "Is there someone who can help me?" So she said, "Yes, God can help you." "God? Where do I find God?" So she replied, "I have heard that great sages and saints in the past, they have traveled into the forest and they have lived in the forest and they have obtained God there." So Dhruva said, "Then I would also like to go into the forest." And Suniti gave him her blessings. A very rare thing. You wouldn't normally give a 5-year-old child blessings to go alone in the dangerous forest, where there are so many animals, where the weather is very harsh, where there is no security or guarantee about food and shelter. But anyway, young Dhruva was determined. And he walked ahead. And sitting there in the spiritual world, Lord Narayan was smiling. "Oh, just look at this young boy. He has taken this insult so seriously. Anyway, I must send my dear devotee Naradji to help out." The Lord was pleasantly surprised to see the determination of Dhruva. So he asked his great devotee, Narad Muni, to go there. So Narad Muni appeared in front of Dhruva. He said, "Oh, my dear prince, Dhruva, where are you going?" "I am going into the forest to perform austerities to obtain Lord Krishna, because I have this desire. I have been humiliated and I was told that I have no right to sit on the throne. So I want to obtain a great boon from Lord Krishna." So Narad Muni laughed and said, "Dhruva, you are but a small boy. Even if your elders reprimand you or scold you, you should not take it so seriously. And in any case, you are only 5 years old. This is not the age for going to the forest and performing austerities. This is the age for fun and frolic. You should be playing with your friends. So come on, don't take it seriously. When you grow up, then automatically you will inherit the kingdom. Why do you worry?" So Dhruva Maharaj was so determined. He told Narad Muni, he said, "My dear saint, all respects to your feet. But if you do not have proper answers for me, if you cannot find a way out for me, from my predicament, kindly move out of the way and let me go into the forest." So Narad Muni was impressed with his determination and he said, "All right, I will give you a mantra to chant. You chant this mantra and all your desires will be fulfilled." And he gave him the mantra, "Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya." So Dhruva very faithfully executed the instructions of his guru, Narad Muni. And he performed such severe austerities that we cannot even imagine. Even though he was just a small child, he was living for the first month only on dry leaves and roots and berries that fell to the ground. And with every month that passed by, he increased his austerities till finally in the 6th month, he even stopped breathing. And when he stopped breathing, then the entire universe was shaken up, because he withdrew the whole supply of prana, or the universal air within himself, by dint of his austerities. The demigods and the heavenly planets began to wonder, what is happening? We are suffocating even here in our heavenly planets. They went running to Brahma, and then finally they approached the Lord. And the Lord said, "Don't worry, I will go down and pacify him." So then the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna appeared in his four-armed Vishnu form before Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj opened his eyes as the Lord came and stood in front of him. When he opened his eyes, he saw the most beautiful form of the Lord, and his heart was overcome with divine bliss. Happiness that he could not understand. A kind of a happiness that he had never before experienced in his life. And then he was looking up, he wanted to offer his respects to the Lord, but tears of happiness were gliding down his cheeks. He could not gather his wits to speak something appropriate at that time. Then the Lord smiled very mercifully upon him and touched his conch shell to Dhruva's head. You know, the Lord Vishnu carries 4 things in his 4 hands: the conch, the disc, the club, and the lotus. So with the conch, he touched Dhruva Maharaj's head. And then Dhruva Maharaj started reciting the most wonderful, exquisite poetry in glorification of Lord Vishnu. You know, in the old days you had a gramophone record where the stylist would touch the gramophone record and then you would hear the voice. So it was something like that. The Lord touched Dhruva Maharaj on his head with the conch, and Dhruva Maharaj became like Gomukh. You know what is Gomukh? It is a glacier from which the Ganga flows. It's a huge block of ice, and water just gushes out from there, the source of the Ganga. So Dhruva Maharaj started gushing beautiful poetry in praise of the Lord. And after he had sufficiently glorified the Lord asked him, "What benedictions do you want from me, Dhruva?" Dhruva Maharaj replied a very wonderful thing, most astonishing. Sthanabhilashe tapase sthitoham Tvam praptavan deva munindra guhyam Kacham vichinvan api divya ratnam Swamin kritarthosmi varam nayache. He said, "My dear Lord, I situated myself in penance just to obtain a kingdom that was bigger than the kingdom of my great-grandfather Brahma, the creator of the universe. And because of this penance, I have now obtained you, who are most difficult to obtain even for great sages and demigods. But now that I have had your darshan, that I have had your audience, I am seeing you in front of me. Now I am feeling that I have obtained a priceless celestial jewel, in front of which even kingship or lordship over the entire universe appears just like broken pieces of glass. And therefore, my dear Lord, I am fully satisfied now. I don't want to ask you any more benedictions. Just your audience is sufficient for me. I am fully satisfied. The happiness that I am experiencing simply by seeing you is incomparable. Even the greatest riches and the power and the prestige of this world, all the comforts and luxuries of this world that people hanker for, are all utterly insignificant in comparison to the happiness that I am now experiencing." Dhruva Maharaj, by the grace of a great devotee like Narad Muni, who was his guru, was fortunate enough to obtain personal audience of the Lord. He experienced this happiness. So we can learn from such examples that if we also follow in the footsteps of great devotees like Narad Muni and follow their instructions, then one day we will also have that great fortune of developing pure love for the Lord and actually being in the personal association of the Lord. What a great fortune it will be. And the kind of happiness we will experience there, we cannot imagine now. And not only that, we will experience freedom from birth, death, old age and disease. We will return to the spiritual world, to the kingdom of God, never to return here to this material world, which is full of misery. So this is the destination of one who actually learns to serve Krishna with great devotion. The wealth that we will acquire will be the greatest. Because by pure devotion, you will experience happiness which cannot be purchased by the wealth of this world. By obtaining pure devotion to Lord Krishna, you will obtain victory over death, which is not possible to purchase with money and gold and silver and property. This is what you will get when you become a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. Tomorrow is Guru Purnima. It also happens to be the disappearance day of another great saint called Sanatan Goswami. Sanatan Goswami lived in Vrindavan, and he was so devoted and austere that word spread far and wide about his glories. There was one merchant who was rather greedy. So he was thinking, I should approach this saint and ask him for some blessing so that I can get a lot of money. So then he approached Sanatan Goswami in Vrindavan. And he said, please give me a blessing that I can become very wealthy. So Sanatan Goswami looked at him and was thinking, oh, this person is desirous of wealth. If I give him some good instruction now, he is not in a position to receive it. Meanwhile, this merchant had heard from reliable sources that Sanatan Goswami had a touchstone. Do you know what a touchstone is? A touchstone is a valuable substance. Wherever and whatever you touch, that substance will become gold. So such a thing, imagine this merchant was very attracted to the idea of having this touchstone with him. So he said, Goswamiji, I have heard that you have a touchstone. So please give it to me. After all, you are a saint, renowned saint living in the forest. What do you need a touchstone for? So Sanatan Goswami said, fine, no problem, take it. So where is it? It's there in the waste paper basket over there. It's in the dustbin. What? It's in the dustbin? Anyway, he was happy to have it wherever it was. So he went there. But he said, okay, so now my blessings upon you. So the merchant was very happy. He took this touchstone back and he became like a man possessed. Everything he saw, he was touching and making into gold. And he had so much gold that time went by. And he had all kinds of luxuries and comforts that gold can buy. But still he was not happy. His heart was still burning with the desire for more and more. And then one day he thought, Sanatan Goswami gave me this touchstone. He had kept it in the dustbin, in the garbage dump. In other words, he must be having something much more valuable than a touchstone. Otherwise, why would he keep this precious jewel in the garbage? So I should go back to him and get that thing which he has. This is the nature of greed for things of this world. However much you may have, you seem to want more. So he went to Sanatan Goswami and said, my dear saint, please give me that thing which you have, which is so valuable that you considered this touchstone as being insignificant. So Sanatan Goswami said, surely, I'll be happy to give it to you. But there is a condition. You must first throw this touchstone in the water of the Yamuna, in the river. What? Yes. You throw this touchstone and come back to me and I will give you that wealth. So with a very heavy heart, the merchant went there. He was really in tension. What if I throw this down in the water? It's gone, and then the saint doesn't give me what he has? But anyway, he said, no, he's a saint. He won't be lying to me. So he threw it down. And then he came back with a beating heart. His heart was pounding. And he came and said, Swamiji, now I have thrown the touchstone. Please give me the other thing that you have. What is it you have? So Sanatana Goswami said, okay, now receive it from me. Here it is. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Swamiji, don't joke with me. I have already thrown the touchstone in the water. And then Sanatana Goswami nicely and patiently explained to him how the holy name of Lord Krishna was the greatest wealth in the world, how it would bring him the greatest happiness and eternal life. By the purity and potency of Sanatana Goswami, the merchant's heart was transformed, and he also became a devotee of Lord Krishna and gained the real wealth. So this is our destiny, this is our birthright. So let us all become very wealthy by turning to Lord Krishna and becoming his pure devotees. Thank you very much for coming. We hope and pray that you will come here regularly and take to the process of devotional service to Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna.